Welcome those present in the gallery and joining us online for the council meeting. Welcome. This is the March 2026 council meeting. Please stand for an expression of faith. We are honoured to have been elected to serve our community. We pray for a community that is smart, culturally rich, prosperous, safe, connected and sustainable. We seek guidance to be an inclusive council, welcoming new ideas, engaging widely and deciding appropriately for our communities both now and for the future. An acknowledgement of land. Mount Barker District Council acknowledges the past and present traditional owners of South Australia and pay our respects to the leaders of the traditional custodians of this land. We are honoured to be on the ancestral lands of the Paramount and Kaurna people. We acknowledge the first Australians as the traditional custodians of this continent, whose cultures are among the oldest living cultures in human history. We pay respect to the elders of the community and extend our recognition to their descendants who may be present. Thank you. Item 1, apologies and leave of absence. Item point 1, leave of absence pursuant to section 55A of the Local Government Act for Mayor David Leach and Councillor Bradley Orr. 1.2, apologies, and there are none. Item 2, questions from the gallery. The next 15 minutes are available for members of the community to ask questions relevant to council. It is not a time to make a reputation, have intense discussion or debate. Council members and staff also appreciate opportunities to respond to questions outside of council meetings, as this can allow for a considered response to questions that require investigation. Each member of the gallery has been provided with a flyer outlining the manner in which questions may be asked. Members of the gallery, are there any questions? No. Item 3, confirmation of the minutes. Would a member wish to move that as recommended? Councillor Slasson, seconded Councillor Segan. Councillor Slasson? Councillor Segan? Any other member? Councillor Slasson? Yeah. All those in favour? That's passed. Item 4, conflict of interest declaration. Council members are reminded of the requirement for disclosure by members of material or general conflicts of interest in relation to items listed for consideration on the agenda. Members, are there any conflicts? Councillor Sassy.
Thank you, everyone. I declare I have 2 conflicts. I declare a general conflict of interest for item 13.6 due to my employment. However, as the matter before the council does not directly concern the agency I work for, I believe an impartial and fair-minded person would not consider that my private interest may result in me acting in a manner that is contrary to my public duty by virtue of my employment. I will remain in the room, participate in the debate and vote. I declare I have a general conflict of interest for item 13.7 due to my employment. However, as the matter before the council does not directly concern the agency I work for, I believe an impartial and fair-minded person would not consider that my private interests may result in me acting in a manner that is contrary to my public duty by virtue of my employment. I will remain in the room, participate in debate and vote.
Thank you. Members, were there any other conflicts? Councillor Fordham.
This through you, Mayor. I'd just like to declare a conflict of interest for item 30.5 regarding the state government roads. I'm a resident of River Road, Arundel, and so I declare a general conflict of interest. I don't believe the item will require any decisions or basis on me to make a decision, but I will act accordingly and stay in the room. Thank you.
Any other conflicts, members? No, then we're going to move on. Item 5, deputations. We have 2 deputations approved for tonight's council meeting. First is Diane Van Eck, representing Mount Barker and Districts Residents Association. Diane, please make your way to the front, make your deputation. You have 5 minutes when you're ready.
Thank you. I'd like to also introduce my colleague Sue Jones Parry, who is representing with me this evening. And we'd like to thank in advance Sue
Miller for pressing the button for us. So we thank the members for allowing us this deputation this evening. The association held an environment muster last year. It's taken a little while to wrap everything up and come before you. We wanted to just present some feedback to that muster, particularly because council, both as elected members and elected body, and also the staff, provided support, as did the community grants team. So I think there's a really nice nexus there to present some information that was supported by you. So I'll hand over to Sue to get us started. A lot of the deputation is even with photographs, so which we won't speak to, but we thought a picture was better than a lot of words.
Our objectives were aligning with the mission of the MBDRA. Our objectives for the environment muster were actually quite simple. We wanted to bring together different environmental groups to learn and share from each other what they're doing within the district. Thinking of many new families that are new to the area, we hope to raise awareness of the importance of caring for the environment, and then to be able to provide them with information about what activities they could be involved with moving forward. On the day we had, I can't even remember how many stalls we had, was it 20, 23 stalls. And within our working party, each member had a number of organisations to contact. In nearly every single case, the organisations were incredibly happy and keen to provide both a speaker and a display for the day. Every stall that was set up was engaging, informative, and captured our audience. The presentations continued throughout the day. People were able to pop in and out. And they were all of incredibly high quality, with knowledgeable, engaging speakers who shared an awful lot of relevant, important information to our audience.
Thanks.
So these are just some of the organisations that were involved.
Could you just pop back? Yes,
Yeah.
Thank you. So there were a large number of organisations, and we're very grateful to all of them. And in our feedback, we'll give you some feedback from them. The most interesting thing is that we wrote to King Charles III requesting his attendance at the event, and we thought that we didn't hear anything, and lo and behold, next slide please, Sue. We will pass this around to you at the end of the meeting, but please put on your special handling gloves. A letter from the King, King's agent of course, but it actually indicated that King Charles had thought about our event and provided some lovely feedback, particularly as His Majesty has asked this gentleman to pass on his sincere thanks for our truly generous invitation, and has asked me to convey to everyone at the MBDRA his warmest good wishes. So I thought it was pretty personal. Okay, so this is just briefly what Sue spoke about, and
So the majority of the feedback that also the stalls, so the stalls, we can pass through that one. And these were just some of the presentations that we had in the facilities up at the kitchen farm, which was fantastic. We had the barn, we had the outside area, that was wonderful. The majority of feedback we received from our stall holders was very, very positive, highlighting the importance of sharing our information and the ability to network with other organisations, and also share information with the public. The local school in Littlehampton was incredibly thrilled to come, and had made contacts with lots of other stallholders that she was hoping to be able to bring into the school. The Kanmantoo group felt that they had actually got some volunteers from the muster to come and help with the planting, well-organised event, and the first event that the Wildlife Guardians have been to, and they really enjoyed it as well.
Okay. The lessons learned, which we thought would be good for anyone who wanted to run this sort of show again, is that we found really positive feedback from all of our booth people and the organisations that we met with, and I think 95% of them attended, having been asked. We think we should have promoted earlier, and we put a lot of the assumption on social media. And, people want hard copy of stuff still. So we didn't have enough hard copy material out early enough. So that was an interesting lesson. We should have had a closer liaison with the courier and possibly the council PR team to ensure that we had a closer connection in the timing of some of our marketing. We weren't really up to speed with the marketing. I didn't even see that.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Diane. I think that's 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I'll continue just to wrap up. Yeah.
Yeah, just do the wrap up and click through the pictures. So just the pictures, yeah. We'd like the council to run this next year. Thank you, Your Worship. We'll hand around the letter. Harry, would you like to take that and share that around?
Thank you.
Thank you. That's from the King.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, please, would have liked us and also, thanks very much to Greg Saar, who's sitting over there, really supported this, and particularly the council's event management team. They're amazing.
Thank you. Thank you, Diane.
So,
Members, are there any questions? No? Then we will hand this letter around very delicately and
with the
return.
fire reach of all the groups, Your Worship, that have helped us to give us the authority. Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you,
You're very welcome. Thank you. Next deputation, Vanessa Telford, representing Meadows Out of School Hours Care and Meadows Community. Vanessa, yeah, please make your way to the front.
That comes out okay. It's a bit out, but bear with us, hopefully it works. Okay, good evening, Acting Mayor and Councillors. My name is Vanessa Telford and I'm here on behalf of the Meadows Primary School children and our community to request urgent funding for a skate park to be built in Meadows. For the councillors who may not be aware, last Thursday, the Malaskas Labor government put on an offer of $250,000 on the table to help fund the new skate park at Meadows. I never imagined I'd be standing here before you all with an election promise on the table. That's a big deal for our community. However, we intend to write to other candidates as well to cover our bases and see what they may offer to maximise that benefit. So we've been directly acknowledged for the consistently high retention rate of our skate program and the value that the skateboard coaching has provided to our communities these past few years is very humbling. Meadows youth deserve a skate park because, sorry, that's the deal. I apologise. One, the kids have grown the basketball court and are eager to grow their skill set. Our Friday skate program consists averagely of 10 kids. Our school holiday programs are usually the first to get booked out and range from 20 to 35 kids. And secondly, the age range of 5 to 14-year-olds in Meadows has dramatically increased in a fairly short amount of time. The youth population growth increased by 94 in the 5 years between 2016 and 2021. The issue is, what can all of those teenagers do together in Meadows to occupy themselves outdoors besides walking the streets? Social groups are important to kids, and we want to help support our youth who may be missing that connectivity simply because they do not participate in our current sporting club. Skate parks are also a great place to support community engagement, enhance the social, physical and mental well-being of our residents in a safe community space. Skateboarding improves self-esteem in girls and women, which is a big focus for us considering that roughly 50% of our Meadows skaters are girls. Skateboarding teaches life skills in a fun and outdoor environment such as persistence, perseverance and resilience. The benefits of skateboarding are extremely broad and it's one of the adrenaline-fueled activities that keeps you coming back for more. It takes a long time to master, but it's so fun that you don't want to stop doing it. Trying over and over to learn that new trick can burn a lot of energy too, hence why it's rare to see an overweight skateboarder. This also highlights another health benefit. It should be, oh, hang on, I'll stop that video, slide 4. This is my design concept for a 600 square metre district level skate park in Meadows. In my opinion, I think it's a perfect skate park that will cater for all multiple age groups, varied skill levels and all wheeled disciplines. This design will be big enough to cater for our off program while also creating regional activation. I have 3 key features that I know will appeal to all disciplines, making this skate park truly unique. No skate park is the same and not all of them can cater to all of the wheeled disciplines. I already have friends and colleagues from a few different regions who are keen to come to Meadows just to ride these 3 unique features. I have a brief breakdown on that, which I'm happy to provide later in supporting information. If we are able to receive the funding we need, I can confidently tell you how much we need and why. I apologise, that's not lined up at all, I'm really sorry. Okay, so in our proposed location, we were hoping to build a skate park, add a skate park in the master plan for Batunga Park. By doing that, council will be reviving and modernising Batunga Park into a vibrant, safe and active space for both residents and visitors to enjoy it. We believe that this location, that I've mapped out on the slide, will be perfect due to the existing toilet block and car park, if you can see it. Also, whilst out door knocking for our petition, I met many young families who have got kids of varying age groups, which is another determining factor as to why we believe that this is the perfect location. It allows for simultaneous supervision between the playground and skate park that, in my opinion, will complement the playground and help to create a more modern outdoor space for all of our community to enjoy. Oh, I'm sorry, that's too bad. This is our petition, Meadows Skate Park petition statistics. A current skate park petition has been signed by 320 Meadows locals, including 22 teachers and staff, all of whom believe this will be a valuable asset for our community. Most Meadows businesses have also signed that petition. Oh, that's better. It's a bit better. Okay, this is our infamous testimonial page, which we are quite proud of. As I said in my intro, we are garnering more and more support by the day. For example, today we had another interview and photo shoot just a couple of hours ago with the Courier, which now means we'll be have featured in the Courier 3 times and the Southern Harvest 3 times. I can submit articles of these if you would like to see so. Okay, number 8. This is my closing statement. This project has been years in the making. I've put in many hours of consideration planning for this project because I believe it will be a fantastic asset for our community. And it just so happens to have timed in perfectly well with Council's draft open space strategy. So I ask on behalf of Meadows community, please follow through with action number 22 in the draft plans for a skate park in Batunga Park. Oh, so I've just got one more, can I just finish my last?
Yeah, certainly.
Oh, okay. Okay, so first off, with all the overwhelming endorsement for a skate park in Meadows, and most importantly, Labor's pre-election pledge of $250,000 funding towards the skate park in Meadows, will the council commit to match their offer to help fund it if they are re-elected? And secondly, I asked Acting Mayor, is it okay with you, may I distribute any supporting information?
Thank you. For the question with me, I suppose,
Stop that.
I may take that on notice if that's all right. And
Sure.
Yeah, certainly. Members, were there any questions? Councillor Westwood.
Thank you very much for the presentation.
Sorry, that was really small, I apologise.
Just relates brief.
I had a lot of information to share, it was really fast.
It's all good.
Yeah.
The question I had was, with the proposed location,
Yes.
how's that going to impact in regards to like the Easter show and that sort of stuff?
It would sort of, we're thinking maybe like those couple of days a year that he's on, if it was say a fenced off area, it would be sort of, it'd still be there, but we'd be able to share the space and there would be less, obviously, you can't drive into the car park when the fair's on anyway. So people wouldn't, the locals usually know it's a nightmare, don't go into the town when there's a fair on. They wouldn't go on those days to be able to have it for the rest of the year. They would just avoid it.
Yes, that's cool. Thank you.
Thank you. I will just advise you that please email me any of the information and I will ensure that all the members have access.
I see, I can't distribute hard copies, is it too hard to?
No, not tonight, no, but certainly in the near future.
Sure.
Appreciate
Thank
it. Yeah, I think there's some more questions. Yeah, Councillor Ford.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. How would you deal with the risk or the perception of antisocial behaviour?
Oh, this has been a hot topic. Let me see, I did write a bit of notes down for that. So basically the Mackie Community Association went through the exact same thing. And I asked Penny Wallen from the Macclesfield Community Association how they dealt with it. And they had said that the experience in Macclesfield has been that the skate park is a great asset for our children, youth and families, despite the fears of a small number of people who had no problems with, had no problems with crime, drug or noise, rubbish or graffiti in the last 10 years since it was built. I can elaborate on that if you like, but we have basically made a modern neighbourhood watch, so to speak, in the form of a public Facebook group called Meadows Skate Park. So it operates the same as our Two Meadows Buzz Facebook groups do, so that we know that members in the Buzz groups are very engaged with what's going on day and night. For example, if there's a tree down, or there's it disrupts traffic, or there's a random pet or a cow coming out of the road, the issues are without fail easily posted online and rectified very quickly. So if any things do happen to pop up, someone's on top of it within like maybe half an hour, and then we'll just deal with it accordingly. But generally,
Thank you.
looking at Mackie, they didn't have any issues. I don't see why we would either, to be honest.
Any other questions, members? Yeah, Councillor Stars.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. Thank you, Vanessa, for bringing that to us. I can understand how and appreciate how beneficial it would be to have a skate park. Do you know the costings on how much it would be, how much it would cost to build?
I do, for roughly 600 square metres, it's a $1,500 per square metre of concrete. So that would be looking at, it sounds a lot, 900,000.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we could probably back that off just to basically get a bare minimum. We could maybe looking at around $750,000 for maybe 500 square metres. That area that you see there from, what's happening there? The whole space that we're looking at is 10,000 square metres. We're looking at 500 to 600 square metres. So maybe 750,000. We might have to have a, try and raise a bit extra funds if we can't quite, make the amount of the state government funding of 250, council matches it for 250, we might need to try and fundraise a little bit extra, or we can get the builders to just build a bit small. The more money we can get, a bigger half-life, basically.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, members? No, then thank you very much, Vanessa, for your invitation. Item 6, questions with notice. There are 3 questions with notice. Yes, the questions and the answers to those questions are in the agenda and will be in the minutes. Item 7, questions without notice. Members, are there any questions without notice? Councillor Seager.
Thank you, Your Worship. Further to the Councillor Salassi's question in relation to NAN, I would like to ask the following questions. Can Council seek comment from SA Water regarding the current status of the main supply to Callington and what their plans are to fulfil the long-awaited completion of the duplicate mains promised so many years ago? Question 2 is, what are South Australian Water's intentions in terms of extending the current water mains within the township and adjacent rural living areas, both in Mount Barker District Council and the rural city of Murray Bridge areas? Question 3, when can the community expect the supply network and supply pressure to be upgraded to reflect the local growth? And number 4, I move, Acting Mayor, that my questions and the answers be included in the minutes. If I could please seek a seconder, and I'll also foreshadow that at the motions without notice later in the agenda, I'll be moving that council request the CEO to write to SA Water on the matters of main supply issues for Callington and Nairn.
Thank you. Thank you for the questions. Yes, you can certainly move that way for these questions to be noted in the minutes. Is there a seconder? Councillor Ford. Do you need to speak to that? Yes, so would you like to speak to that motion?
I can speak to that now.
No, sorry, the motion to have your questions noted in the minutes.
Oh, okay, the motion, clearly, I don't think I need to speak to it, I think it stands on its own merits.
All those in favour? That's carried.
Thank you, fellow members.
And yeah, look, in terms of the answers, I will be deferring to Bill Burton, General Manager for Maintenance and Services, Infrastructure and Environment. Just experiencing some technical difficulties at the front. I'm sure the answers to your questions are forthcoming.
Through you, Mayor. Yes, we'll certainly take that on board in regards to the approach to SA Water. For us, the questions, we don't have those on hand at the moment, but we'll certainly get that response from SA Water and then be able to provide those back through to the minutes of council.
Thank you, Mr. Burton.
Thank you. Members, were there any other questions without notice? And we will proceed. The item 8, motions on notice. 8.1, title, communicate outcomes of council meetings. Councillor Fordham, do you wish to move this motion?
Thank you, Acting Mayor Vogt. I'd like to move the motion as outlined in the.
Members, is there a seconder? Councillor Kelly? Councillor Fordham.
Thank you. Through you. Council meetings and the decisions cover a complex set of issues, particularly in a growth council such as Mount Barker. Currently, the council minutes do not convey the content of the discussions, rather only the decisions made. I do grant that we give the public the opportunity to attend council meetings or access the meetings online. However, the online option is not available directly after the meeting, missing the immediacy of the communication and the time commitment involved in my mind is impractical to accept the most dedicated community members into the 3 hours. The question I'm asking is, do we require a more accessible, translatable version of council meetings? I'm seeking to argue yes. Market surveys show that the public consider that the council needs to take a stronger leadership role. A key requirement in my mind is translating what actually happens in a council meeting and what this actually means to the community. This means connecting the community to the issues, the outcomes, and in some circumstances, revealing that the issues were carefully weighed up and considered in a responsible manner. Indeed, after being elected as a councillor, I've been impressed by the fellow members and their ability to discuss and debate council issues on behalf of the community and clearly with community interests at heart. This is quite in contrast to many social media posts I have read where communities is essentially hostile about community members of the council and seem to have a low awareness of what they actually do. Presumably they don't actually read them out by her career. The degree to which these discussions are shared would need to be decided, and obviously the communication would need to be concise to the point and reflect the agreed outcomes rather than controversy. Having been a public servant for a number of years, I've seen other examples where high-level committees produce a one-page communique to help convey meeting outcomes, decisions and implications. This helps to demystify decision-making and to me is part of the committee's responsibility. If issues and outcomes cannot be conveyed in a simple one-pager immediately after the meeting, I would argue there would be a problem. In addition, we could have a more personal, engaging format for conveying what happens at the council meeting through a video format, either by a mayor or a councillor or staff member. Again, this would help to demystify the process and make it accessible and be an important form of engagement, courteous enough to say to the community, say, yes, we acknowledge your right to know and understand about decisions that affect you. This is what matters. What I've heard, Acting Mayor Vogt would be adept at this given his skills to prepare speeches at a relatively short notice. I read with interest the council staff response and acknowledge that the council has a good approach to social media and other forums to get messages out of relevance. What I think is missing is something in succinct form, including for those elderly residents in our community or who do not use or access social media, with people with disabilities, with, for example, sight difficulties. Young people also engaging heavily through more animated forms of communication such as video, although I'm not suggesting stunts, but pictures and movement can convey, or for people like me who are trying to reduce the addictive potential of social media and having to read all the responses. The one pager could be sent out via email to a distribution list of who was interested. Personally, I'd also find it useful to have that as a prop when I was going to a community meeting, saving time in preparation of the material and having it as a basis for letting the community know what has occurred at the council meeting. There is a risk, of course, that we could have some negative reactions to the idea, but having tested on a limited number of community members, it appeared to receive a positive response. Any engagement faces a risk of unwanted reaction. I think this is something to be managed rather than avoidance. And currently, I think there's a bit of a hole in understanding and appreciation of the role of the council. And perhaps it is optimistic to believe that can be shifted, but I think it's worth trying. I acknowledge that individual councillors do provide their own individual messaging regarding what happens at council meetings on Facebook. However, I believe there's a strengthened and united position and a joint communication approach, particularly given concerns around councillors conflicting in the chamber, and to show the agreed direction and consensus of what we're doing. I'm almost out of breath. I do acknowledge that there are some concerns regarding implementing the policy, which is why I've suggested a 3-month trial post the state election. I'm keen to hear what other councils have to say, and on a potential trial, what they think is important in shaping a policy such as this. So in summary, by having better informed citizens, we can have more engagement on planning a policy. And to me, I'm asking, what is the downside? To me, this reflects the maturity of the organisation, one that is accessible, willing to be open and transparent. It helps make more accessible the work that is undertaken by the council, and that may be underappreciated by the community, particularly in a high rate environment.
Thank you. Members, no, my apologies. Councillor Kelly.
I support Anne's fundamental reason for the communique. I do believe meeting minutes are generally too long for general consumption, and so something a bit more succinct would be helpful. If we did introduce a communique, I believe it must be factual, timely, and free from commentary or promotional language. The objective is clarity, not interpretation. Any communication should be institutional rather than personal, which is probably in contrast to some of what Anne has said. It should reflect the resolutions of council, not individual perspectives. Said another way, I don't believe this communique should depend on individuals. If adopted, it should operate as a factual institutional record that functions consistently regardless of who holds the office of Mayor and CEO. If those guardrails are clear, I'm comfortable in supporting a trial. There was some concern expressed in the staff that the council already has a social media strategy. But I believe this communique could be integrated within that and actually strengthen that strategy rather than detract from it.
Thank you. Any other members? Councillor Slassie.
I have looked at this motion through various lenses and pondered over a few ways to potentially amend or work with it. But I guess the bottom line is I don't think there's a gap in council's messaging on council meetings that needs to be addressed by a motion. If anything, I think there is perhaps a gap in community interest in council matters, yes, but I'm unsure how this motion will necessarily fix that. I do want to acknowledge the intent behind this motion, because I believe that we've heard that there is genuine intent to further engage with our community, and that should be managed. However, in practice, as an example, I counted over 25 items on tonight's public agenda alone. In theory, a brief written communique on the meeting sounds nice, but in practice, who decides which of these 25 plus agenda items make the cut for what has been described as a one-page communication? How do we translate our meeting into a brief document? And from whose perspective do the perhaps controversial matters, as we heard mentioned, get reported? Because issues that I think need the spotlight to highlight to the community may be different to others' perspectives. And I'm not convinced that 11 councillors should all be sharing their differing opinions on any formal communication, because we don't need to micromanage these communications from council. I'm further uncomfortable with the notion of councillor involvement in summary videos that report on meeting outcomes, simply because we can do that on our own time and on our own social media pages. If I have thoughts on a meeting, I can present my perspective independently on the items that matter to me. As the officer's comment mentions, the official spokesperson of council are the mayor and CEO, so a formal council communication should come from them or from delegated staff, because we have some amazing staff. But again, that is something that is considered by administration without the need for a motion or trial, in my opinion. My further hesitancy comes from the timing of the proposed trial and video, also comes with the fact that this is a council election year and we are heading into caretaker period soon. And I wouldn't want to see this used as an opportunity for councillors to boost their profile. Again, we can do that by our own means in our own time. I do want to mention that in my term of council, I have seen notable effort by council to further engage with the community, and I've been really pleased with it. We have a constant social media presence, the District Matters newsletter, Community Leads newsletter, staff out there actively in the community, and a significant lift in our community engagement strategies. With regard to council meetings specifically, it was a directive of this council in 2023 to record the meeting live streaming, as we're doing now, so that our residents have access to not only the agenda, the minutes and the live stream, but also to the meeting recording itself, so our community can watch the meeting at their leisure and skip to the parts that interest them. I know that each monthly meeting is advertised by council on our corporate social media pages, as well as links to both the agenda and the live stream. So I actually think we're doing pretty well, and I would love if more people took an interest in what decisions are made in this chamber each month on their behalf. With so many items coming through each month, perhaps just a link to the monthly minutes on the council's corporate pages would be a consideration. But the full monthly agenda, covering a very broad range of council business, I struggle to see how a brief communique will adequately cover all of the items of importance, and I'm concerned with the implementation aspects and the timing. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other member? Councillor Whitman.
Thank you, Mayor. I thank Councillor Salazzi for her comments, which were basically took most of my comments away.
Sorry.
I've been in council since 2010. The improvement in our communications has been amazing. We engage on social media, we engage with our local printed media, with our local radio media, with the various newsletters that we send out. I completely agree that with the size of the agendas that we deal with, it's going to be really almost impossible to put out a single pager which describes the way that we've run the meeting and the decisions that are made. I mean, there is sufficient information as far as I can see in our minutes by people who are interested. There's sufficient information via the live stream and via the YouTube recording. Though I still can't believe that there are people who have been in this council area for 30 years who still ask about the ministerial DPA because they have no awareness of it. So these are the people that we're trying to get to, and I don't see another page of more information being able to reach those people who obviously have no interest in engaging with us unless they wish to complain. Not only that, I think it's another impost on staff time that I don't think we need. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members? Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I've considered this motion carefully and I enter this discussion with respect for the intent behind it. Transparency matters, clear communication matters, accessibility matters. However, I do not support this motion in its current form. When I first became a councillor in 2018, our communication channels were far more limited. Social media was minimal, information travelled slowly, councillors themselves carried much of the burden of explaining council decisions within their own networks. Since then, as Councillor Westwood has said, we have come a very long way. We now live stream meetings, record meetings for later viewing, publish full minutes, provide media releases, maintain a very active and well-engaged social media presence, and we have councillors who actively communicate with their own communities. The information is available. At some point, we must also recognise that individuals take responsibility for their own intake of information. If residents want to understand how decisions were made, how councillors voted, or what was discussed, they can watch the meeting, review the recording, or read the minutes, or speak to a local councillor. I'm cautious about creating an additional layer of post-meeting commentary. Firstly, we have official spokespersons, the Mayor and the CEO. That structure exists for a reason. It ensures consistency, governance integrity and clarity about who speaks on behalf of council. Secondly, I do not want to create an additional administrative workload for staff at a time when our focus should be on advocacy and delivering outcomes for the community. Thirdly, I'm concerned about the governance implications of publishing summaries before minutes are formally adopted. Even well-intentioned summaries can introduce interpretation, emphasis, or narrative. We will all take different things from a meeting. If councillors wish to communicate their perspective within the constraints of legislation, they are free to do so. Nothing prevents any of us from providing our own updates through our own networks or mediums. I would be more comfortable with a conversation between the Mayor and the CEO about whether a brief mayoral summary video, similar to what other councils do, may add value without duplicating or politicising the process. However, I'm not persuaded that a formal trial of summaries and rotating videos is necessary at this point in time. We have improved significantly over the past 8 years. Engagement is strong. Posts are well received. Meetings are accessible. Transparency is not about volume of messaging. It's about availability of information. And that information is already available if you wish to access it. For those reasons, I will not be supporting the motion in its current form. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other member? Councillor Segal.
Thank you. I agree with the comments of Councillor Selassie, Councillor Westwood, Councillor Jones very largely. I know that we have an existing media policy and communication strategy, and that, as Councillor Jones has said, members of the public have multiple means of accessing both agendas and outcomes of our meetings. There is a procedure in meetings that if the results of votes wish to be known, then a member can ask for a division which will record those, so there are processes in place. I also echo the fact that members of the community must take some responsibility in what they choose to read and what they choose not to read. You cannot understand what is going on in an increasingly complex world without making some effort to do your own research and do your own reading. You cannot expect council to spend what could be a reasonable sum of money and time developing something largely to duplicate and produce a very simplified version of it, and that could lead to misunderstanding, as Councillor Jones has said. I cannot support this motion in its current form, and I would suggest that Councillor Fordham perhaps reappraise this and ask for a report as to whether this might be developed in some other form, which is, I think, more appropriate to seek a report as to how and what the consequences and costs might be before you go down this path rather than afterwards. So I'll be voting against it.
Thank you. Any other member? Councillor Rosser.
Picking up on what Councillor Seeger said in my sentiments, I'm moving an amendment that council staff prepare a report on the case for a brief written communique summarising key outcomes of council meetings, including examining best practice of other councils in this area. In the report within 4 months. I agree that we have improved in our communication, but as others have said, there's still quite a deficit in the amount of attention that the community pays to our meetings and the outcomes. I think this is worthy. I'd like to see more detail. I'm not quite sure how it would work. It's worthy of additional attention before we could adopt.
Just hearing some advice for you, Councillor Rosser. Perhaps this amendment would be best brought as a motion on notice at the next meeting, given that, the technical difference is quite a substantial change, I suppose, from what we're looking at in the original proposition to what you're talking about. I understand there is certainly a connection there. I can see where you're trying to direct this. That's my advice, of course. Be aware, I suppose, that as you would know, that if this is lost, then it may not be able to return to council. Oh, sorry. Okay, I've misheard that. So if this motion is lost, then you're able to move an alternative motion to the effect of what you're speaking about. So rather than an amendment, it may be an alternative motion.
I respected advice and thought it might be the case because it is a substantial change from the motion. So I accepted advice and the options can be considered before the next meeting. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Any other member? Then I will return to Councillor Fordham to close the meeting.
Thank you very much everyone for the discussion. I really appreciate the different viewpoints, and I think everyone's been very eloquent, and that is why I'm very keen that we do get out and communicate to the public. I guess I did put forward a trial in order to give the process an opportunity to develop. I acknowledge that we didn't have possibly it clearly defined, but talking to people within the council, there was a diversity of views about how this could work. And I guess my main motivation is to try and see something happen, having seen it work in other contexts. And so I thank everyone for their input and constructiveness. And yeah, I'll stand by my motion.
Thank you. All of those in favour? All those against? The motion is lost. 8.2, Hudson Boulevard. Councillor Jones, would you wish to move this way?
Yeah, I'd like to move the motion as stated on screen.
Thank you. Members, is there a seconder? Councillor Sides. Councillor Jones, floor is yours.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. Tonight, I move this motion regarding the completion of Hyson Boulevard. This is not a political motion and it is not a motion of blame. It is a motion about functionality, responsibility and leadership while taking action because we have waited far too long. We have a 360-metre gap that prevents more than 9 kilometres of Hyson Boulevard from operating as intended. One missing section is stopping our primary east-west connector road from functioning as a continuous corridor. That is not an engineering problem. It is a structural delivery issue and it is one that now requires attention. In 2010, Hyson Boulevard was identified as the essential connector road to support growth and provide resilience within the transport network. The delivery model required individual developers to construct sections of the road as development progressed across their respective land holdings. That model has delivered substantial portions of the boulevard, and that progress should be acknowledged. However, 15 years on, the corridor remains incomplete and is affectionately known as the Boulevard of Broken Dreams and the Road to Nowhere. Mount Barker is now South Australia's second largest city outside metropolitan Adelaide. Less than 30% of the rezoned land has been developed, which tells us that the growth we have experienced so far is only part of the story. At the same time, we have major infrastructure projects underway, a new hospital, intersection upgrades, continued residential development and increased regional traffic movement. Yet our primary connector road does not connect. When Hyson Boulevard remains incomplete, traffic is diverted onto local roads that were never designed to carry those volumes. Congestion increases at intersections that were not intended to absorb that pressure. Public transport corridors are constrained. Active transport opportunities are reduced and community frustration grows. Our annual market survey consistently tells us that traffic management, arterial roads and responsible growth are top priorities for our residents. This motion directly responds to that feedback. Importantly, this motion does not commit council to a funding decision tonight. It does not mandate compulsory acquisition. It does not override developer obligations. It simply asks for a report that explores what mechanisms are available to council to facilitate the completion of this corridor in a coordinated and timely way. That includes examining potential acquisition options, funding mechanisms that allow cost recovery from liable developers, negotiations with the state government, and identifying any early win sections that may unlock significant network benefit. Those are not abstract benefits. They are practical improvements to daily life in our district. If the current model places the timing of delivery entirely in the hands of development sequencing, then it is prudent governance for council to at least understand what tools exist to bring forward completion in the interests of our community. This road has been ongoing for too long. Mount Barker is no longer a small growth town, it is a regional centre, and our infrastructure must reflect this status. This motion is about unlocking functionality. It is about addressing the underlying cause of network pressure, not just treating symptoms at individual intersections. And it is about demonstrating that council is prepared to explore every reasonable option to deliver infrastructure our community has been waiting for.
Thank you. Councillor Sayers.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I'd like to thank Councillor Jones for bringing this motion forward. I fully support it. I'd love to see a report of what options are available to council to try to fix this problem. When I was campaigning, someone contacted me and said, you know, for 12 years they haven't been able to get anywhere on that road. I went driving with my son on the weekend to show them all the different developments that are going on around that area. And, you know, you go to the second Woolworths and Macca's and can't go any further, and you go all the way to Spring Lake and you can't go any further, and you go to Cobra Park and you can't go any further. So the state government, it sounds good in theory, but as you can see, it doesn't work in practice. So it would be great to see what options are available that council can do to try to rectify this position. We're waiting for the state government to do what they need to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members? Councillor Slassy.
Thank you. I'm not sure what to say following Councillor Jones. It was very thorough. But I am in full support of this motion. As a council member and as a resident, I am continually disappointed and frustrated at the model put in place for Hyson Boulevard by the state government of the day. I'm unsure how, in their wisdom, they foresaw this model working with over 100 landowners across the Hyson Boulevard corridor at the time, and a model that required individual developers to construct sections of road as the development progressed. What if it fails to progress in any semblance of a timely manner? And that is what we're seeing now. We could be decades away from completion because of the delivery model set up, and it's not good enough. I also understand this particular delivery model, leaving developers to construct sections of the road instead of council or state, has not been repeated by the state government elsewhere. It suggests to me another plan failure imposed upon and unique to Mount Barker. We have a community that continues to grow and a road network that was not designed for the growth imposed upon us by the 2010 rezoning. Hyson Boulevard as a connector road through the growth area is of critical importance. I'm open to any one of the four options as presented in this motion, and I'm very much looking forward to the report back to council to see what gains can be made along the Hyson Boulevard corridor. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Westwood.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm in support of this motion as well. The only thing that I would like to see is the cost implications for these things to be done. What cost implications it might be to council either to act on or investigate or partner with state government, because quite honestly, we as a council should not be have been financially impost for what the state government did 16 years ago, or didn't do 16 years ago. I recall a video from the replacement planning minister, Mr. Rao, in 2011, where he stated categorically that Mount Barker was a mistake and it would never be repeated. That there's never been any sort of commitment for them to fix what they've already done. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other member? Councillor Seeger.
Your Worship, I agree, particularly with Councillor Jones and Councillor Slassy and with Councillor Westwood. And I'm in support of this motion. To make a point that the advocacy for the completion of Hyson Boulevard has been a constant refrain from this council for the 11 years that I've been on council. The mechanisms that govern the development, funding and delivery are both well known and recognised as being inadequate. This motion seeks a report to examine the options and most importantly introduces the notion of compulsory acquisition as a mechanism whereby we might be able to undertake the completion to remove the bottleneck in one particular location specifically. On that basis, I'm very pleased to support this motion. This has gone on far too long and the lack of support from both federal and state government is appalling.
Thank you. Any other member? Councillor Kelly.
I'll keep it brief because it's been well covered, but I do support the motion. I feel it would be irresponsible for the council not to explore all mechanisms available to address this issue. And, I wish it were in that endeavour.
Thank you. Councillor Grosso.
Look, yeah, of course I support the motion. I'm not quite as optimistic that will change anything or achieve anything. I would have thought that all of the options for a solution have been well and truly examined over the years. It's been one of the main focuses of council staff and the mayor for many, many years, more than a decade. We all know the issues, the problems, the absurdity of the model that the state government implemented for this. We know the early wins, the 360 metre missing gap. We identified an early win with the crossing, and we won that over the railway line. It took many years of strong advocacy to get that up, but we got it in the end. I think it's. I'm not quite sure if there's a lot more that staff and the mayor could have done over the years. However, in answer to my question, I'm not sure what it would achieve. It is a motion from an elected member, and possibly state political figures take that more seriously than approaches from staff. Yes, that's a bit of a different dimension, and it will be a concise source of information for elected members and the community. So some still not optimistic that it'll change anything. Let's take the current political process. We get a bit of a win there during the next couple of weeks, but holding my breath. So please, good luck to it. Thank you. Next me.
Thank you. Any other member? Councillor Porter.
Thank you, Councillor Acting Mayor. I think it's a really good motion. Commend Sam on the work she's done on it, and also on the staff. I think it's a really good way to put some pressure onto the state government in relation to Hudson Boulevard and the need to complete it. And I think it would be good to include some sort of idea about capacity too, what capacity we need for the remaining Hudson Boulevard in terms of what is actually required to help fulfill that network obligation. And thank you again, Sam, for putting it forward.
Thank you. And just a reminder to all members, we must refer to each other by councillor.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
And on that, I will return to Councillor Jones. Close the debate.
Thank you, Acting Mayor, and thank you to my fellow councillors for apparent support and your comments. As mentioned, for more than a decade, this corridor has been incomplete, and we have advocated consistently, and we will continue to do so, but advocacy alone isn't enough. And right now, there is no clear commitment from either major party to resolve this issue. We will continue to advocate strongly, but we will not sit back and wait for something that may never eventuate. The officer comments make it clear. Completion of Hyson Boulevard would deliver improved public safety in emergency events, reduced congestion and travel times, better redundancy in the road network, improved public transport corridors, and greater opportunities for active transport. So rather than waiting indefinitely, we are taking a responsible step to understand our options, to explore mechanisms, and to lead. Our community deserves progress. Hyson Boulevard has been called the Boulevard of Broken Dreams, and at times it has felt like a road to nowhere. Let's not turn it into the never-ending story, and let's finish the book. Thank you.
All members in favour? That is carried. Item 9, motion without notice, and before I invite any other motions, I will refer to Councillor Seeger. You've recorded a motion without notice, and I invite you to move that way.
Thank you. Mayor. Further, the answers in the agenda to Councillor Solassi's question on notice regarding the man-made water supply, and my questions without notice regarding Cullington's water supply issues, I move that council requested the Chief Executive Officer to write to SA Water seeking comment from SA Water regarding 1. A response from SA Water to the questions asked by Councillor Selassie at item 6.3 in this meeting's agenda regarding man water supply capacity and service performance. 2, the status of the main supply to Callington and what their plans are to fulfil along the way to the completion of the duplicate mains promised so many years ago. 3, asking what are SA Water's intentions in terms of extending the current water mains within the township and adjacent rural living areas, both in Mount Clark District Council and the rural city of Murray Bridge areas. 4, when can the community expect the supply network and supply pressure to be upgraded to reflect local growth? 5, and request that a response be provided at SA Water's earliest convenience, but no later than the 30th of April 2026. And 6, that council staff prepare a report for future council meeting agenda outlining responses provided by South Australian Water once the responses have been received.
Thank you, Councillor Seeger. A seconder for that motion, Councillor Selassie.
Councillor Selassie.
Yes.
And may I give background, please?
Yes. Thank you. Yes, now you can. Thank you.
Thank you. The issue regarding the adequacy of the water supply to Nairn has been raised by Councillor Selassie, largely repeated for the residents of Callington. Callington is served by a single 6-inch, 150mm for you young folk, main in the place since the supply was belatedly connected to the township in the late 1970s. This main was duplicated for approximately half the distance from the Kanmantoo source around 15 years ago, with the balance of the duplication promised to be completed within 12 to 18 months. This promise remains unfulfilled. While the growth of Nairn has not been repeated at Callington, the township has grown to the point where most township blocks now contain housing. Residents not unreasonably expect the same service as others paying the same water rates. Instead, new houses increasingly rely on shared connections, piggybacking off each other as council-approved development extends beyond the existing SA Water mains network within the township. Water pressures across the township is now consistently lower overall, and the peak times is extremely poor. I acknowledge the heavy demands made on SA Water with widespread urban expansion, reflected in the considerable sums being expended in northern metropolitan development areas. This should not come at a cost to existing communities, nor residents who have endured poor networks and pressures for years, be they at Nairn or at Callington. While I accept that Council has no direct role in the provision of mains water services, the advocacy role clearly argued by Councillor Selassie equally applies to Callington. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Selassie.
Welcome back to the meeting. I thank Councillor Seeger for bringing this motion to the chamber and for the breadth of it in addressing water mains infrastructure issues across our townships and adjacent rural living areas, both within the Mount Barker District Council and rural city of Murray Bridge areas. In Nairn, residents have reported sustained low water pressure, low rates with below expected standards, and impact on everyday household functionality. The fact that similar questions now being raised regarding the mains supply network and water pressure in Callington suggests there may be broader infrastructure adequacy issues at play. There are valid questions to be asked of SA Water around infrastructure age, system capacity, and whether current network performance aligns with recent and forecast growth. Put simply, is the mains system fit for purpose? I think that seeking formal clarification from SA Water is not only a reasonable action by Council, it is a responsible one. Councillor Seeger and I have both been very clear in our assertions that Council does not play a direct role in provision of mains water services, though we do have an advocacy role to play here. This motion asks for transparency and information from SA Water that is of direct relevance to Council and our community. We want to know, are current service standards being met? What upgrades are planned for? And when can communities expect supply networks and pressure to reflect the scale of local growth? We're seeing significant state investment in water infrastructure and other growth corridors in the south and north, particularly. With residents in Nairn and Callington reporting ongoing water performance and system concerns, it is reasonable and fair that they are asking whether their service reflects value and appropriate planning for water. Nairn, as our district's second largest township, continues to grow. I think it is timely and entirely appropriate that council seeks updated infrastructure modelling and clarity from SA Water about how water network capacity, pressure and planned extensions are keeping pace with that growth. Likewise in Callington, where duplication of mains water has been long anticipated, it is fair to seek advice on the status of that commitment and inquire after anticipated timing of any planned upgrades to the network. Our communities deserve clarity regarding existing mains water infrastructure, promised upgrades in the case of Callington, and realistic timeframes for remediation and delivery. I also welcome that this motion calls for a report back to a future council meeting once a response is received, ensuring transparency for both council and public. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other member? Then I shall return to Councillor Seager to close the debate.
Nothing further, thank you. I think it's fairly obvious.
Thank you. All those in favour? That is carried. Members, were there any other motions without notice? Then we shall proceed to item 10, petitions. There are none. Item 11, recommendations from the committee. There are also none. Item 12, reports. Report titled Environment and Sustainability Strategy Action Plan for Endorsement for Community Consultation. Members, would someone wish to move that way? Councillor Selassie, seconder, Councillor Jones. Councillor Selassie.
Sorry,
We'll just, before you begin, sorry, you please note the red text up there, which is a late addition to the agenda.
Thank you. I'm happy for these 5 action plans to go out for community consultation, and I'm really impressed with the content in all of them. Condensing 199 actions across the previous 3 plans into 65 actions across these 5 plans is no small feat. I know that the level of consultation undertaken for the environment and sustainability strategy was exceptional, and the extensive feedback from workshops and community engagement has directly informed these action plans. A broad range of relevant groups and stakeholders contributed, including highly engaged community members with significant expertise and lived experience. We're actually very fortunate to have some extremely knowledgeable and well-qualified individuals within our community, and it is encouraging to see their insight, experience and knowledge bank drawn upon in shaping this work. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Jones.
Nothing.
Any other member? Councillor Sarge.
Thank you, Mayor. Just want to same sentiments as Councillor Selassie, and great work to the council in reducing it and very in-depth action plans that they are having got to go to council out to Wednesday.
Thank you. Any other member? Councillor Kelly.
Through the Mayor. I support releasing the action plans for community consultation. However, that support should not be taken as endorsement of every objective or proposed action. My primary concern sits with Objective 1 and the emphasis on emissions-related targets. Local government must be careful not to extend into areas where the measurable impact at a district level is limited, particularly when costs and benefits are not clearly defined. Climate mitigation is largely driven at national and international levels. The contribution of any single local government area is inherently small. That makes it even more important that we focus on practical, measurable actions within our direct control. Ratepayers in this region are already funding significant infrastructure catch-up. Any additional commitments should demonstrate clear, tangible benefit to our community before we ask residents to bear further cost. Emissions reduction is one dimension of environmental policy, but it must not become the overriding measure for success. Local government is best positioned to deliver and measure outcomes in biodiversity protection, land management, water quality, fuel load management, and resilience, areas where the impact is direct and tangible. For example, wildlife corridors and biodiversity connectivity are objectives I support. It's understood that meaningful progress in this space is closely linked to state planning, policies and development codes. If high density settings are limiting green space and corridor opportunities, then advocacy to the state government should form part of the strategy. Biodiversity connectivity waste management, and local pollution reduction should be core environmental priorities. We should be prepared to use planning, open space, and operational levers within our control to support them. Our focus should remain on practical, locally deliverable actions rather than areas where connection between council activity and global outcomes is indirect. I look forward to reviewing the community feedback and examining the cost implications and measurable outcomes before forming a final position.
Thank you. Councillor Westwood.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. Just to be clear, the motion, the recommendation being put up here is to endorse the plans for community consultation. End. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Grosser.
Did a quick reading. This looks good to me, so I appreciate the work of staff and the input on community expertise and the fact that staff have responded to a lot of it. Just to respond briefly to Councillor Kelly, I think we're only going to kind of make a very small difference to the world's emissions and the impending climate change crisis, but we're an affluent community, scientifically advanced, industrialised. If we're not going to play our part, then what help the world? Why should other parts of the world who are not in our privileged position do anything if we don't act? And I think it's directly related with the other areas of the plan, particularly nature and wildlife, with the biodiversity extinction crisis that climate change threatens. Water supplies are going to be impacted. The drying climate in South Australia, township greening gets more difficult and critical. Waste of resources plays a part in the whole thing. So I think it's an important component of our environment and very integrated into the other areas, and you can't really take any of it out of the picture. Thank you, Acting Mayor.
Thank you. Any other member? Councillor Seeger.
Thank you, Your Worship. Well, this is this motion, and this was broken into 5 separate topics. I think it's fairly important to remind ourselves they don't exist in separate silos and nothing to each other. They're all part of the same process and processes, and that is why, from my perspective, it is impossible to seek to separate them out and need to be understood as being intimately connected to each other. And in relation to the aspects of the draft climate change action plan, from my perspective, it is my firm belief that it's responsibility of all members of the community to undertake actions in relation to ameliorating climate change and not to somehow artificially separate them out and sheet the responsibility home to some other level of community or societies, be it state, federal, or international governments forms. We are all in the same boat when it comes to, and we all have a part to play. Some will do less and some will do more, but we all have a responsibility. It is our common future we're talking about. It is your children's and your grandchildren's future. If you choose to not do anything, that is your choice. But as a council member and who would like to see our community prosper into the future, I think it is urgent that we all do more action that seeks to address this issue. I commend these plans for community consultation. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other member? Councillor Joan, you may ask a question. I think you seconded this.
Oh, sorry, okay. I didn't second,
Any other member? Councillor Fordham.
Acting Mayor, through acting Mayor vote. A lot of work's gone into these plans. I commend the amount of work. Just to note that the Hills and Fleuro Regional Landscape Plan is also out at the moment, so the community is going to be getting quite a lot of planning to comment on. It would be good to sort of contextualise, I guess, how this plan relates or sits with that plan. I'm also concerned about, in terms of future budgets and the expectations on the community in terms of the level to which we can support this work, and was wanting to ask a question, I guess, of will there be a dedicated budget line, or what can we tell the community about level of resourcing? Because these sorts of things can look quite insurmountable, but at the same time, we've got a lot of community putting in kind of time and effort into these sorts of works. And so I guess that was the question I had.
Yeah, thank
In
you.
terms
So
of messaging.
you wish to ask that question? I will. Yes, Alison Hancock will.
Thank you, Acting Mayor, and thank you for the question. As with all of our strategies and action plans, after they've been out to community engagement, they come back in. We work really closely with our finance team to model the impacts of those strategies across our long-term financial plan. We may then have to reprioritise some actions based on the capacity within our long-term financial plan. And the combination of both the community engagement plus our resource planning will come back to you with an eyes wide open costing of the plan and prioritisation based on those two lenses.
Members, you have all spoken, so were there any other questions? Councillor Jones.
Oh, I have a question.
Go for it.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. Just some clarity. The role of a councillor is to represent the views of the community rather than personal views. And just confirming that part of this endorsing for community engagement, therefore, as a councillor, the purpose of this consultation is so for us to also understand what those community views are, because they're the ones that we have to represent.
Yes,
Through you, Acting Mayor, thank you for the question, Councillor Jones. You're correct in terms of the purpose of community engagement is to hear from the community whether we've got it right or not. As you would see with all of our strategies and action plans, there's a diverse range of views in our community, and those views have formed the drafting of the plans that you've seen under the leadership of Mr. Greg Starr, working with the community. But also, yes, you will hear those diverse views coming back as part of community engagement as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other questions? Then we shall return to Councillor Slassie to close the debate.
Nothing to add. Thank you.
All those in favour? That is carried. 12.2 report titles draft. My apologies. Oh, no, never mind. Report title 12.2 draft recreation and community facility policy, community engagement. Members, please note that there is some additional text in red up there. And is there a member who would wish to move this way? Councillor Westwood, seconded Councillor Jones. Councillor Westwood, anyway.
Thank you, Mayor. The only thing I really wanted to say is I wanted to thank the staff, excuse me, thank the staff and BRM advisory for the amount of work that's been done for this report. It's an incredibly difficult area in regards to properties and community issues as far as leases, licenses and uses and those sorts of things, management agreements. And I think that I really look forward to the feedback coming back from this item. I think it's being treated particularly well. I just want to thank the staff. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Jones.
Thank you. I concur with Councillor Westwood's sentiments. It would be a very difficult task. A lot of agreements and have been in place for a long time. And it would be a bit like herding cats at this point. But just the fact a lot of consultation has taken place, and I know that this we're simply endorsing to seek further consultation as well. So I look forward to receiving that feedback and then offering further opinion then. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other member? Councillor Ford.
Through you, Acting Mayor, the community is eagerly awaiting this document. They're keen to engage in this process and have some resolutions in terms of maybe cutting down some of the complexity and having a clearer policy outlined, so I think it's a good start, and I acknowledge that the community has put a lot of effort into these resources and a lot of time, and we need to take this sensitively, but I think the community will be, the people involved will be very pleased to see it come up to the table.
Thank you. Any other member? Then return to Councillor Westwood to close the debate.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. Not more to add, thank you.
All those in favour? That's carried. Item 12.3, report title infrastructure grant funding update. Members, would someone wish to move that way? And please note the minor adjustment in the red text there. Councillor Slashy, seconder. Councillor Westwood. Councillor Slashy.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. In this update, I was pleased to see that a section of the Bartley Street footpath in Nairn, including a level crossing pedestrian maze across the railway line there, has been submitted for grant funding in the Black Spot Road Safety Program. This is a great development, and I hope we're successful with the 67% grant contribution request. It's been a really tricky project, and the community is constantly asking after it and for updates. So it would be lovely to see a safe rail crossing completed at this site for the Nairn community. I also noted that Council was unsuccessful in its submission to the Office of Rec Sport and Racing for funding towards Charles Road to a Nembo Road shared use trail. This trail is also one that is desperately needed for the safety of our residents and for the many users of Nembo Park. It's another very tricky spot, I know that. I appreciate that Council staff have done everything possible to try and get this project over the line. I'm very disappointed with the outcome of the two recent grant applications. I think we have a solid case with this project, including advanced planning and design. So all I can gather is there must be some very heavy competition with these grants. I agree with the comments in the agenda that this shared use trail is a priority, and though it's on hold for now, I would hope this project is put forward for grant funding at every available opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Westwood.
Thanks, Acting Mayor. I could just only echo Councillor Slashy's comments, especially in relation to the Bartley Street so-called crossing. It seems to be that the operator of the railway line regards that as being the highest possible priority of safety, whereas the crossing down the road has nothing, not a thing. So I just wish they get sorted.
Thank you. Is there any other member? No, then we'll return to Councillor Slashy to close. Thank you. All of those in favour? That is carried. 12.4, report titled Council Assessment Annual Report 2025. Members, if someone wish to move that way. Councillor Seeger, seconder. Councillor Ford. Councillor Seeger.
Thank you, Your Worship. As this states, this is the annual report of the Council Assessment Panel. Discusses what has happened over the year and the attendance and otherwise of members. It has a copy of the terms of this panel operates under. As a member of that panel, I can say we've had a very productive year. I think it's 5 out of 7 months we had meetings, and I may have it the wrong way around off the top of my head. However, a number of very interesting projects have come through, and overall the panel has worked extremely well and achieved the goals we've established to achieve in assessing some quite complex development applications. And for the clarity of those listening, only those applications which go out to public notification, for which there is a response opposed to the application, will go to the panel. So all other things do not come to the panel. So we get to deal with a difficult one where various people may not be happy, and a hearing is held and a decision is made. One of those was refused this year, which later came back to the panel and was subsequently approved. And one item was approved and was appealed to the ERD court, and that appeal was later withdrawn. So we've had an interesting year, And as I say, the panels worked extremely well. I must commend the other members, the independent members of the panel, worked very diligently to achieve the goal and to assess applications and show great diligence. So I commend the report to people. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Seeger. Is there any other member? Oh, sorry, my apologies, Councillor Porter. Any other member? Councillor Westwood.
Sorry, thank you, Mayor. I was just disappointed because I didn't have to shop to go to a meeting.
Any other member? Councillor Jones.
I have a question. On page 104, under the applications determined by the council assessment panel, I don't know if I'm missing something, but if you look at June and the table, it's got 2 approved, but total decisions are 1. I would have thought total decisions are 2, unless there's. It didn't make, I thought, is there an explanation for that?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for the question. I'm being advised that General Manager Natalie may be able to.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. That's I may be able to. I will have to take that on notice and see our Manager City Development to provide some confirmation on that.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I just didn't know if I was missing something. Thank you.
Get to the bottom of that. Any other member? Councillor Kelly.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I just wanted to make an observation more than anything. 10 out of 1,400 developments have come before the panel. And as Councillor Harry mentioned, that's only the developments that have gone out to public notification. To me, that reinforces that the real policy levers sit within the planning and design code, and hence that public notification isn't being triggered. I think that's potentially an area for concern, that not enough public consultation is being done on a lot of developments. And if we are serious about, preserving green space and biodiversity corridors and things of that nature, that some advocacy to the state government to have those planning codes tightened would be helpful.
Thank you. Any other member? We will return to Councillor Seeger to close the debate.
Thank you, Your Worship. Make a comment in relation to public consultation. The criteria for public consultation are determined by the PDI Act, and it is not up to the council. The PDI Act is an instrument of the state government, and the council's previous development plan under the previous legislation was more liberal when the PDI Act was introduced in 2016, but not operative in this council until 2021, to the best of my knowledge. It was one of the things that changed in the new Act. It was to significantly reduce the opportunity for public notification and involvement by members of the public. It restricted what had been a more liberal approach undertaken in the development of the previous Act in 1986 or 7. It's not that good. That Act, the former Act, was seen as quite a liberalisation of previous policy and extended the notion of legal standing to a much wider range of the community. The new Act reduced that quite significantly. I don't think that's being too political. I think it's a statement of fact. I agree personally that the new Act does reduce the amount of capacity of public to be involved. It was not the decision of council, and many people were opposed to it at the time of its introduction. I think it's important to note that the 1,426 applications would represent a very large workload. In previous times, everything came to council, we'd be up all night every night, 7 days a week. So clearly that it's not workable. Notwithstanding, the PDI Act is what's in place. That's what we have to comply with. This is the process we're at. When it was introduced or being planned to be introduced, the comment was made by, I'm not sure, a gentleman named Michael Lennon, I think, something like that, that the public had the opportunity to be engaged during the development of the Act and therefore would not need to have a public notification process because they would have already made changes necessary under the Act. It was a most ludicrous assertion and the consequences are now being shown where people are not informed, and as a councillor you will probably be in the situation where you find a development has taken place and you weren't aware of it because you're not informed. Formerly, we were much better informed under the previous Act. Well, I should stop now before I get myself into too much more trouble. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All of those in favour? That is carried. Item 12.5, revised community infrastructure grant guidelines. Councillors, would someone wish to move this way? Councillor Slashby, seconder, Councillor Salas. Councillor Slash.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. As a member of the Council's Community Funding Assessment Committee, I'm pleased to see the proposed amendments and additions to the guidelines. I believe these refinements will provide greater clarity for applicants and further assist in defining and assessing submissions in the second round of the Infrastructure Grants Program. I'm also very supportive of the proposal to bring this grant program forward to April. In an election year, this ensures there is sufficient time for the program and the applications received are to be given the careful consideration they deserve. I will mention that in its inaugural year, this program was oversubscribed by more than $300,000, which clearly demonstrates the strength of demand and the level of need within our community for such a funding stream. In response, I submitted a budget bid this year seeking a significant increase to the grant funding allocation so that it better reflects that clear and demonstrated demand. I'm really pleased to see that the applications will be assessed in July following adoption of the 2026-27 budget. And I sincerely hope the final budget allocation reflects the strong community interest and the clear importance of this program to the community.
Thank you. Councillor Salas.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I too was on that panel as well, so everything just Councillor Slazzy said, I reiterate. It's good to have this in there. I'm glad that changes have been made and glad that also it's going out forward and be adopted in July. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other member? Councillor Fee.
Thank you. While I'm overall in support of this motion, I have some concerns about a comment in the officer's comments. I think it's under discussion. It's on page 109.9, where the council officers note the suggestion from council members to quarantine some of the funding application for major projects only. Whilst the grant guidelines do not reflect this, this can still be achieved subject to the final budget allocation. I find that those two sentences a little disturbing. The total fund available under this grant scheme is $100,000. We are suggesting that a minimum grant should be $5,000, which would allow $25,000. It also has a separate $5,000 to $10,000 range and then a end of 20, I think. But potentially it flags the idea of a larger application up to say $50,000. Would you use $50,000 this grant funding on one project? It would be really only $50,000 less. And to me, project of that scale, not in the $10,000 to $20,000 range or below, should be subject to a different process, potentially through council budget applications, the normal budget process, rather than running this grant allocation down significantly. This is, to my mind, meant to be medium-sized grants, not large-scale grants. So while this is not written into what we're approving, the fact that it's flagged does concern me. I think this should be more for medium, the $10,000-$20,000 range grants, which would still only give 5 grants in 1 year. There's a lot of work to be done out there with community groups. Cost escalation has gone through the roof, as we all are aware, and so doing a $15,000 or $20,000 project is not actually that unreasonable request. So having said that, I'm still very happy to support it, but I would like some clarification around that at a later date. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other member? Councillor Grosso.
Yeah, look, by my understanding, the community infrastructure grant program is to enable larger projects where communities have a vision and a project in mind for a major transformation. On the scale that was never possible with a modest amount of the community grants program. And I note that Adelaide Hills Council had grants of $50,000 for infrastructure projects going back at least 5 years, as I remember raising it in this council in relation to what they were doing, saying, can't we look at having a community infrastructure grants program with significant funds, which have gone towards. Do staff know the process there for deciding what projects get the $50,000? And they've had that for a long time, in the pre-rapid inflation days in the civic construction sector. So 50,000 then, it's like 100,000 now. But I'm not sure, I never quite found out what the process was. Whether it was decided by a community grants committee or, I don't know. Did anybody know?
So would you ask a question?
Yeah, that's the question. I'm just wondering how they go about making their decisions.
Yes, they, meaning Adelaide Hills Council, how they have 50,000.
Yeah, they had $50,000 probably 6 years ago, I'd say, when I first raised all this council.
If we can, I think General Manager Natalie may have some answers.
Thank you through you, Acting Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Grosso, for the question. I might have some inside knowledge on this. At the time that I left Adelaide Hills Council, their infrastructure grants were, I think, sitting at 100 or 120,000. Their process, they don't have a separate committee or Section 41 committee that assesses their grants. The grant assessment is undertaken by staff based on criteria that sits within their grant program, and then a recommendation is then made to council. So with those grants, they are assessed based on, I guess, a whole range of things, including where the priority sits, the funding that's available, whether or not additional grant funding from state or feds is required. And at times, decisions have been made to provide that support on the basis of getting additional funding, so providing some of that co-funding for state and fed grants. So the process is a little bit different, but probably sitting at about the same quantum as what we have here that's available for infrastructure grants.
Thanks for that detailed explanation.
Thank you. Were there any other members? Then I'll return to Councillor Selassie to close.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. Just to touch upon Councillor Seeger's comments, my understanding with this infrastructure grant was that it was essentially meant to be a pot of money that was that showed equitable and accountable means to the community with what we had and transparency regarding that. I will admit that I really do find, as a member of the funding committee, that when you have applications coming in for $50,000 or $30,000 and you only have $100,000, you're very mindful of people are going to miss out. So I guess that is why I would love to see a larger pot of money. I wasn't opposed to the way that we used to do it previously, where these larger amounts did come through council. So perhaps we could see this run for a few years and then reassess how it's going. Because if we had a large one for about $30,000 last time, I believe, and it did take a significant amount of funds, but it was a very necessary lighting upgrade. These larger ones do need to come, these larger grant applications do need to come with at least 50% co-funding. So if we could increase that pot of money and see how we go, I'm more than happy with this grant program as is, keeping in mind that we are going to have a lot of demand on it coming up. Thank you.
Thank you. All those in favour? That is carried. Item 12.6, a report of water donations. Before we go any further, just please take a moment to read some of the additional inclusions there that may not have been on the printed agenda. And we will just be seeking some clarity from Councillor Fordham on the Alliance Assistant dogs.
$200
200.
donation.
Yes. Is that all we need? Yeah. Yeah, thank you. And everyone's comfortable with that. I will see some. Oh, yeah, good idea.
And
Yes, Councillor Westwood.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I'm reading those additional items. I find myself having a general conflict of interest in regards to the Alliance Assistant staff being the district owner of the Alliance District that runs it. I am far enough separated from it not to have it have any sort of financial or look. You know what? Out of absolute care, I'll say I'll have for now a material conflict, and that I'll now leave the meeting and return after the vote's been taken.
Thank you for notifying us. Just wait for I'm comfortable with putting it up there. Yeah, any more time? Happy to receive. I'm not saying it. Yep, saying nonce. Okay, we will finish. Would someone wish to move this way? Councillor Size. Seconder, Councillor Fordham. Councillor Size.
Nothing.
Councillor Fordham. Any other member? Councillor Size.
Nothing.
All those in favour? As carried. Wait for return. Okay, item 13. Oh, my apologies, Councillor Slade.
Acting Mayor, with item 13, given the number of reports, there are 10 in total, I wonder if it is possible to please not take them on block so that we have a opportunity to speak to them.
That is an option. I suppose alternatively, what we've been battling up here is the idea of seeking leave from the meeting at this point so that you may speak to them. Happy to sort of go either way, I suppose. Okay. Yeah. So what we could do, perhaps this way, is we could move this on block, and then once it's been moved and seconded, we can seek leave from the meeting, and that will permit members to speak over the 5-minute duration, giving them enough time to talk to the 10 different reports in here. Is that suitable?
Thank you.
Okay, well then I will seek a mover. Councillor Westwood, seconder. Councillor Size. And at this point, I may seek leave of the meeting. No. My apologies. Okay, yeah, my apologies. Councillor Westwood.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I have actually nothing to say on this, so I welcome other comments.
Thank you. Councillor Summers?
I speak, if I don't speak now, can I speak when we go leave of the meeting? Sorry, I should say.
Yeah.
Speak now. Just want to thank the staff for all these reports. They were great to read, especially economic development and tourism update one. It's great to see how busy our community is, and absolutely love the advocacy. Thank you.
Thank you. I will now seek leave. Yes, please.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. Given that there are such a number of reports, we'll stick to your code of practice. We'll let you speak for your 5 minutes, but if you do have multiple items you're speaking to, when you get to that 5 minutes, if you can then seek leave of the meeting to allow you to continue to speak. And when you do seek leave of the meeting, if you can just perhaps clarify what length of time you're asking for within reason. So if you get to the 5 minutes and you've still got a fair way to go, you would seek leave of the meeting for a further 5 minutes, or it might be a further 2 minutes.
Thank you. Any other member? Councillor Selesny.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I will start by speaking to item 13.1 advocacy update. I continue to enjoy these monthly advocacy updates, and I am very much behind Council's advocacy efforts leading up to the state election. We have been a strong, factual, and I have appreciated the element of community education that have come with our advocacy efforts. In the face of what I believe to be consistent imbalance in the planning and funding of overdue infrastructure needed for our district and our community, when compared to other growth corridors in the state, I think our advocacy efforts have been fair and reasonable. I do have a question through you, Acting Mayor, please, regarding page 126 of the agenda, where it states there is no additional update for advocacy and progress regarding mobile black spot funding. Staff have been amazing in their advocacy on this important matter, and in the 19th of January Council agenda within this same report, it stated that following a letter to the Minister for Primary Industries and Development, a meeting was held with the Minister, staff and the Mayor to make the case to the Minister for funding of mobile black spot for the towns of Harrogate and Rukunga specifically. It further stated that a separate council report will come to council on this matter by March. I would now like to ask after the timing of that report, please, and if it will be made available to the public.
Thank you. Thank you for the question.
Through you, Acting Mayor, there are some great updates to provide to you. We will get an LI out to council members. Staff recently met with telecommunications provider Telstra. The report was substantially written for this council meeting. However, the costings for a potential contribution from the council came in from Telstra, which was at variance to our expectations. So we're just working back through Telstra to understand their expectations and the reasons for it. What I can say is that the meeting that we had with Telstra was they gave us some significant updates. They had undertaken a significant infrastructure upgrade in CAMM2 about 2 months ago. So they were of the view that CAMM2 should be removed from the advocacy because they believe that the infrastructure would have made a more positive contribution for those members of the community in CAMM2. In relation to Dorsley, Harrogate and Rukunga, they provided us with an update on potential towers at Rukunga and also at Dorsley. And they believed that, Rukunga and Harrogate, I think it was, but Dorsley, they had a different approach in terms of putting some more moderate infrastructure in place to be able to provide the coverage required. So I'll provide you with a memo updating you from that actual meeting. It is progressing. It's progressing faster than I had considered it would. At the moment, we're just trying to clarify some numbers in terms of some financial contributions that may be required.
Thank you very much, Thank you. Thank you. I now speak to the Mount Barker Skate Park item 13.2. I was very pleased to see this report in the agenda and also with the improvements proposed for the skate park in the upcoming 2026-27 business plan and budget. We know the skate park is a valued space for our many young community members, and the deputation presented to council by some of those community members in November, Fergus and Corey, was of great interest. It's encouraging to see that sections of damaged concrete and expansion joints are now being repaired. I also welcome the recommendation from staff to further enhance the current facility through the addition of a park, shelter and bench connected to the existing trail via a new sealed path. While longer-term planning continues for a regional skate park facility, these maintenance works and proposed upgrades will deliver tangible benefits in the short term, and they are warmly welcomed. The proposed new shelter, bench and park will significantly enhance the skate park's amenity, comfort and accessibility, improvements that will make an immediate difference for our own people. I'm also pleased to see that the painted surface is due to be renewed, with a specific park engineer engaged to provide a treatment, noted in the agenda as both safe and functional for use in a skate park. I can see that this painting work is costed at $15,000 and is to be included in the upcoming draft annual business plan and budget for council consideration. I have a question to you, please, Acting Mayor, regarding the proposed renewal of this painted surface. My question relates to safety. I went back and had a look because I recalled that Corey and Fergus mentioned the skate park surface was slippery in their November deputation. They specifically mentioned when questioned that whilst there had been past painting maintenance, it had made the surface slippery and quite dangerous. Their words. I wonder if this has been identified in council's review of the skate park and if there may be a public safety element to this, and if so, can the timeline be brought forward? With any valid or confirmed safety concerns, like we'll do with the playground, there may be a maintenance budget available in this financial year that could potentially fix these issues in a more immediate manner. Or if the option is to wait for the budget endorsement, I was wondering if the surface be painted safe and functionally for use straight off the bat in the first quarter as a priority safety measure.
Thank you for the question. I will refer to General Manager Phil.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. Certainly a great question. We discussed the safety of the park quite regularly, and we'd like to really engage with the youth and users of the park in regards to the painting treatment that will be used there. We'll certainly be taking any treatment that we use there in consideration of the safety of the users, and we won't put anything down that compromises that safety. So in regards to bringing that forward to this financial year, I'll take that on notice, but also to get back to the council in regards to what opportunities there are to advance that in this current financial year, if I can.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. I'm sorry, last one. 13.4 road speed limit changes update. I'm delighted that the Sydney road specifically has been lowered from 80 kilometres to 60 kilometres on a small stretch of road past the Nam recreation grounds. This is something that broad sections of the community, along with council staff, have determinedly been advocating for over 16 years to improve the safety of families, children and volunteers who use the rec grounds. As a parent and volunteer myself, I am very, very relieved, and it's a very welcome and sensible outcome. I have received a couple of calls and texts when the new signage went in from elated residents locally and from rec ground users. So this change has long been advocated for, it's been widely welcomed. I want to sincerely thank staff for their persistence on this matter. I understand there were repeated setbacks and discussions with DIP over the years, along with considerable time and effort invested in planning and design work to support the case. It's taken a great deal of patience and tenacity, so I really want to thank them. I also noted that staff are currently reviewing the merit of a targeted 40-kilometre zone within the Nairn township. I think any local would probably acknowledge that there are some challenging sight lines on the streets in Nairn due to topography. I do note that if we get in principle support from DIT and progress this through council, there is likely to be community consultation. So I was really pleased to see that, because any proposed changes would need to be well understood and supported. And I just wanted to mention the new speed limit along Cape Road and thank staff for their diligence and determination there as well. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you for your questions and comments. Any other member? Councillor Zeger.
I'd just like to echo Councillor Dwazzi's comments, particularly in relation to the Sydney Road. Lowering Sydney Road's speed limit that has been on the agenda as long as I've been on council, and has received support from the Honourable Dan Cregan amongst others, and staff have worked very diligently to, how should I delicately put it, find a way to convince DIT to lower, and I commend them for their efforts, because it was like talking to a brick wall for many years. So that's a great outcome. I'm also particularly interested in the idea of lowering the speed limit in a significant portion of Nairn. I think that's something that I personally would like to see instituted in Gullingdon, if not a through road. you want to go through Carrington, don't come down the main street, go down East Terrace. However, I think the idea of townships as being places you can drive around at 60 kilometres an hour or 50 kilometres an hour is antipathetic to road safety and pedestrian safety, especially in townships who may not have particularly good footpaths or other facilities. So I look forward to seeing how it progresses. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other member? Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. Just speaking to item 13.1, advocacy, monthly update. Firstly, I want to acknowledge the enhanced advocacy efforts of staff and my fellow councillors in the lead up to the state election. It is clear from this report that significant work is occurring: meetings, letters, media engagement, partnership development and targeted approaches for candidates across parties. And that effort should be recognised. I'm also hearing from the community that they appreciate seeing council push hard. They want to see that we are just as frustrated as they are, and they want to see that we are advocating, not simply administering, and that visibility matters. However, I do want to express a level of disappointment. We've seen many announcements, we've seen commitments, we've seen infrastructure promises placed on the table. All of it is welcome, but we cannot ignore the two elephants in the room: wastewater treatment plant upgrades and Hyson Boulevard. And these are not peripheral issues, they are foundational. It's one thing for candidates to knock on doors and listen to frustrations and acknowledge growth pressures. It's another thing entirely to commit to solving them. What are the candidates proposing to do about wastewater co-funding? What is the plan to complete Hyson Boulevard? What do the respective parties seeking our community's votes on the 21st of March intend to offer in relation to these two critical priorities? Because without resolving wastewater capacity and without completing our primary east-west connector road, every other infrastructure conversation becomes constrained. So while I welcome what has been announced, I urge all parties and candidates to address the two most pressing structural issues facing our district. Our community deserves clarity. They deserve commitments with timeframes, and they deserve more than just acknowledgement. They deserve solutions. It's time for our candidates to step out from behind their call flutes and stand in front of their communities, not as party representatives, but as advocates for Mount Barker. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other member? Councillor Russell.
Yeah, look, I'll also just comment on 13.4, road speed limit changes. Good work by staff with the Pate, Ops and Hawthorne Road speed limit decreases as well. I think it's critically important that there's such a direct correlation between road speed at the point of impact and survivability, really closely related. I think at 60k an hour, you don't normally survive. At 50k, you've got a reasonable chance, and 40 is a lot kinder again. 80, got no chance there. And not only that, but it can help create sort of friendly neighbourhoods and activate streets, encourage active transport, which we need to do for a number of reasons. I agree with what Councillor Seeger said about trying to, speed limit decreases in urban areas. I also think we need to look at some of the bridges around the place where there's no economically feasible solution to putting an additional, lane or appendage to the bridge to have pedestrian and cycling access. I think at Macclesfield at the public forum, somebody put their case for, I think it was Parrot Road in Macclesfield, for solutions there, which sounded unaffordable, no easy solution to make the roads safer. And I think in that case, a lot of children at school kids use the fence. Springs Road, Mount Barker Springs, it's treacherous, it's hairpin bends, poor sight lines, heavily used by cyclists, used a lot by walkers as well, narrow road. majority of people do the right thing, but some hoon through there, taking bends widely, and it's a really dangerous situation. It could easily be a death at some stage. And I think should we have a 40K sign in situations like that, it's also a strong visual cue that, okay, you know, it's 40, right? It must be a dangerous situation. So I encourage decreasing road speeds. I know it annoys a lot of avid motorists that are commuting daily trying to get to work, bus they can, etc. But I think in the interest of the community overall, the more we get road speed limit decreases, the better. And especially look at some of these black spot situations around bridges, in my opinion. Thank you, Acting Mayor.
Thank you. Any other member? We shall return to Councillor Westwood, please.
Yeah, thank you, Acting Mayor. I thank all the members for all the comments they've made in regards to the information reports, 13.4 specifically. Living in the area that's marked for a 40 kilometre an hour speed reduction. Currently at 50, most of the traffic does 70 or 80 along my street. And repeated complaints to safe hold not helped. So I'm not sure whether a 40 kilometre an hour sign is actually going to do a lot of difference to the particular motorists using my particular street. And I look forward to, sarcastically, the development at the end of my street where there's going to be heavy vehicles and all sorts of good fun for the next 5 years. So we'll see how that develops. But I certainly thank the council for investigating the 40K zone.
Thank you. All of those in favour? That is carried. Item 14, quarterly reports. There are 2 quarterly reports that will be moved on block. Would a member wish to move that way? Councillor Westwood, seconder. Councillor Sires. Councillor Westwood.
I reserve my right. Thank you for committee.
Thank you. Councillor Sires.
Nothing further than correct,
Any other member? Councillor Jones.
Thank you. Just speaking to item 14.2, the Summit Sport and Recreation Park utilisation. I just want to make a few brief comments on the report. It is genuinely pleasing to see how the summit is being utilised and importantly how that utilisation is growing. Over the last 6 months, we've seen 20,500 attendees through the venue, an 81% increase in bookings. Just shouting out these numbers for the people who couldn't be bothered reading the report. 138% increase in attendance and a 453% increase in higher revenue compared to the same period last year. They're not marginal increases. That is significant growth that I think needs to be acknowledged. There has been commentary in the past labelling the facility as a white elephant or suggesting it isn't used. This report demonstrates very clearly that that narrative does not reflect reality. In particular, I'm really pleased to see cricket back at the venue this season. Seeing the Oval activated again for local cricket is important both symbolically and practically. Looking ahead, I also want to emphasise how important it is that we continue working towards having the HFL games hosted at the venue. The report notes that this remains a key priority, including in-season games and potentially finals. That level of competition would further cement the summer as a true regional sporting venue. I also want to acknowledge staff for continuing to work with local sporting clubs, event organisers and sponsors to attract further activation. Facilities like this don't activate themselves. They require ongoing effort, relationship building and persistence. This report shows that momentum is building. And while there's always more to do, it is encouraging to see the venue growing into the role it was intended to play as a premier sporting and community facility for our district. Thank you.
Any other member? Councillor Drumster.
Yeah, in relation to the same report, I'm likewise encouraged by the large growth in activity, users, events, revenue. the return of cricket. I think staff are obviously doing a lot of work there. And, so it's trending right. It's still a long way to go, however, because I'm interested to know how much it doesn't reference the fee revenue for license agreements, whether we've got that figure. And also what it's currently costing. I think it would be in the vicinity of $1 million per year for maintenance and depreciation, something like that. But whether anybody's got those figures, but certainly it's a long way to go, but it's a good start. We're heading in the right direction with that.
Would you like to ask Sarah the question?
Yes.
Yep, okay. Thank you for the question.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. We can certainly get the updated income and expenditure figures for you. I don't have them with me tonight. The figure that you quoted, I think is an old figure. The staff have done a significant amount of work to look at all the expense lines. I know that they've made some changes to the maintenance regime to bring down the maintenance costs on the Oval. And I think that, as you have done, acknowledging the great work of staff, we made a structural change in the organisation last year to bring in activation as a primary focus for this council. And as the BRM report stated, that was returned on the changes that you agreed to and resolved, where BRM said it was probably going to be a 4-year journey for us to bed in the SSRP and program it the way that it was intended to be. We've now had it for, I think, 12 months, and you've seen the results of that. So I think that's a great testament to our community working with our staff, the structural changes that you agreed to and brought in, and you can see the combination outcomes of that. So, but we can get the actual updated figures to you. Obviously, the depreciation figure is going to be significant. It was an expensive piece of infrastructure, and it's relatively new. So, of course, its depreciation is going to be relatively high at the moment.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Were there any other members? Councillor Senior.
Look, I get commented to two speakers or three speakers actually, including the staff. It was always my impression when we undertook to build sport, but so that we were well aware that it would not instantly become a raging success. That would be a betting in time, and no doubt errors will be made and solutions will be found. And what I think we're seeing now is the fruit of those works. There's a lot of very negative commentary when it first arrived. I think people were suffering a bit of noses out of joint, perhaps, about not being able to play with the new toy in the way they envisage in their own mind. I think now the community, first the need has grown, and secondly the work has been put in, has made commence on its trajectory that we've always understood that it would go on. So I'm very pleased to see the result of these and look forward to future trends. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other member? We will return to Councillor Westwood. Close.
Nothing, thank you, Alderman.
You. All those in favour? That is carried. Item 15, Acting Mayor's Report. Yep, I'm not doing this, but trust me, I am certainly some of the busiest times that I've had in my life. And just to talk about a couple of those things, cricket at the Oval, I've played there 3 times this year and it is an absolute treat. So I think that's a win for us. And utilising the swimming pool, Satsar's Courier Cup was there that I attended and opened on last Friday. And like I said to the people there, what a wonderful way to utilise such a nice facility. So while that is blank up there, what kind of things in. Believe me, moving in full steam. Item 16, members' reports. We have a members' report there. Would a member wish to move this way? Yes, and rather uniquely, we will be providing the opportunity for members to give a brief 5 minute, you have 5 minutes to do a verbal report if you wish. So I may request those now. Councillor Westwood.
Thank you, Acting Mayor, and I do apologise for not submitting a report. However, the occasion that I went to was on Thursday night, so it was a bit awkward. I want to thank the acting mayor for allowing me to attend the Citizen of the Year Awards at Government House, whereby amazingly and really well deserved, one of our community was awarded the state active citizen of the year, being Dave Richardson from there. He's been an amazing advocate for all the NAN community groups for quite some time, and it was a well-deserved award, and I was absolutely gobsmacked because I had no idea. So it was fantastic, and I'd like to thank anyone involved in that, because I was really, really impressed, and I was chuffed to be there. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other member? No, then I will note sorry, someone there?
I didn't have my hand.
Council size, no problem.
Thank you. I'd just like to thank the staff. Every time I've had a community member email me a question or whatever, I've forwarded over to CM inquiries and always got a prompt response. Especially, I went back and forth a few times with one staff member because the person kept asking all these questions, and they're just so great to answer so quickly. And with such, he provided a response from your side, which is wonderful. I'd like to thank, Jamie Tan and the operations person. He came out and met me with a resident on Fitted Lane, I think it was. No, it was somewhere out yonder, who had a problem with the grading of his road that was done in summer instead of winter, because there's a lot of dust problems. But they happily came out, had a chat with the guy, really lovely, stayed, went and had a look at the corner that he was worried about, see if there was a giveaway sign. You know, I understand and appreciate how busy the staff are to take their time out. It was just really great and just really appreciative. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other member? No, then yes.
Sorry, they said I can email when that's in.
Thank you. Note the report from Councillor Selassie there and seek someone to move this way. Councillor Sides. Seconded Councillor Jones. Councillor Sides.
Nothing further, thank you, Recommend.
Anyone else? No others? Councillor Sides closed.
Nothing further, thank you, Recommend.
All those in favour? That is carried. Item 17, questions arising from the council meeting. Those in the gallery, which are none. So I assume there will be no questions from the gallery. Item 18, confidential reports. What title is up there? Would a member like to move the recommendation that this item be considered in confidence? Councillor Jones, second to Councillor Selassie. Councillor Jones. Councillor Selassie. Any other member? Councillor Jones. All those in favour? That's carried. Yeah, and we will hold while we shut the owl down. And thank you to those online who may be present for engaging with your